I tell you what, I am so happy and so proud of our choir. I'm just, they're on fire, they've been on fire, they just keep getting better and better. And guys, thank y'all for stepping up. My goodness, I'm just so proud of them. It's a wonderful sight to see them and to hear them. They remind me of the choir that used to be here in years gone by. Yeah, I remember. Sound good. Last Sunday morning, we started on the subject of heaven. And I'm going to wait until this next Sunday, Labor Day. I'm going to wait until sometime in September. But you know, anytime you do one on heaven, a series like I've been doing, you really need to do something on hell. Yeah. And when I get to that point, I won't hold anything back. I'm real conservative, and I'll try to tell you everything that I know, which isn't that much, but I will do my best, especially looking at the Bible on the subject of hell, and we'll get to that point. But we've been looking at heaven. Last Sunday morning, we talked about heaven. What is heaven? Where is heaven? Where will heaven be when Jesus comes back? And interesting, how big is heaven? And we answered all of them last Sunday morning. Last Sunday night, we talked about the reasons why we believe that the Bible teaches that we will know one another in heaven. And I gave basically 5 reasons. 1, because of our large knowledge. 2, because of our engraved names. 3, because of the testimony of the saints. 4, because of reunion. And 5, because of faith becoming sight. Now this morning, we're going to talk about a little bit more detail. What will heaven be like? What will it be like? And you have to look at the kind of body that we're going to have in heaven. And you're going to find this interesting for those of you that have hurts and pains and muscle aches and joint and back and head and feet and back and head, all over the body. Take your Bibles and turn to Revelation 21. I know I've got up there John, and but we've already looked at John. Let's look at Revelation 21, and let's start with that. Revelation chapter 21. Let's look at verse 4. When you find Revelation in chapter 21, we'll get it. Revelation 21, look at verse 4. We're going to focus on verse 4. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things will all be passed away. What will heaven be like? Well, it's going to be perfect. Perfect. Absolute perfection. It's going to be perfect rest. If you could just for a moment, in these verses, in verse 4, in verse 1, if you go down to verse 25, all of these verses are teaching the things that will not be in heaven. Have you ever noticed that? There is no more sea in verse 1, no more death in verse 4, no more sorrow, no more crying, no more pain. In verse 25, no night, for there shall be no more night in that place. In chapter 22, it teaches that there be no curse. So in other words, the Bible teaches here that everything that hurts you, defiles you, hinders you, messes you up, will not be in heaven. Think about that just for a second. Everything that will hurt you, everything that harms you, everything that does in an awful way your situation will not be in heaven. So I want you to notice this in these verses. In heaven there will be perfect health, perfect peace, perfect life, perfect relationships, perfect work. You say you're serious? I am perfectly serious. Perfect. Everything. Absolute perfection. We couldn't handle that here. It'd kill us. But in heaven, we will have everything that is perfect. Not one thing will be imperfect. So heaven will be a place of perfect rest. You're not going to float around all the time. You're going to have work. You're going to have stuff to do. You're going to live the way God has intended you to live. Forever. That's the glorious fact about heaven. That we will, for the first time, be able to live and work and exist in a perfect place forever the way that God has intended for us to be. That's a glorious truth. Now the second thing that I want you to notice, that heaven will be a place of redemption. If you would, go ahead and turn to 1 Corinthians in chapter 15. There's some verses here that I want to read to you. And we're going to talk about this in reference to the body. What kind of body will we have in heaven? In other words, heaven will be a place of perfect redemption. In other words, we're going to have the kind of body that we were created in the very beginning to have. In 1 Corinthians, in chapter 15, I'll give you just a second, verse 42 and verse 43. I want you to see this. Maybe a little complicated, but if you'll give me a minute or two, I'll explain it. You'll be able to see it a little bit clearer. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, let's start with verse 42. The Apostle Paul said, "So also is the resurrection of the dead." Now he's talking about the body. Listen to it. "It is sown in corruption. It is raised in incorruption." Look at verse 43. Talking about the body. "It is sown in dishonor. It is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness. It is raised in power." What I want to do is take those two verses and I'm going to show you three things about the kind of body that we will have in heaven. This is such an incredible truth, and I wanted to share with you, and I wanted to do it this morning. So let's start with number one. Let's look at verse 42. We're talking about this redeemed body in heaven that we will have compared to the body that we have today. It's fairly simple. Verse 42 teaches that this redeemed body in heaven will never get sick. You see, Revelation brings that out too. It will never get sick. That's incredible. Think about it. It will never get sick. It will never hurt. It will never die compared to the body of today where you will get sick. Now, some of you brag about how well you might be, and I hadn't had a cold and such, and I don't take this and I don't take that and all this stuff. But if you live long enough, your day is coming. You will get sick. You think you may not go to the nursing home one day? You live long enough. You will get sick. You look at somebody crossing the road and they're having a hard time getting across the road, and you're just strutting along and you think, that won't ever happen to me. You better think again. You will get sick. You will hurt. And you are going to die. If Jesus doesn't come back, bank on it, count on it, write it down right now. You will die. And I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking that's a long ways off. The first thing, in verse 42, this redeemed body, I can't even imagine. I cannot even imagine of living in a world where you never have to worry about getting sick. And you never have to worry about hurting. I've got an aunt, my mama's sister. My mother passed away about 12 years ago. And my aunt lives in Tampa. She's 86 years old. I called her on her birthday last month, this month. And it's strange because Aunt Grace, when she says Teddy on the phone, it sounds just like my mama. Oh my word, it just gives me the chill bumps. I said, Aunt Grace, how are you doing? She's 86 years old. She said, Teddy, I don't have a pain in this world. Boy, I thought, Lord, please let me have some of her blood and DNA. Please, please, please. I can't imagine, but the woman is doing great. To be 86, but her day is coming. We never get sick. We never hurt. We'll never die. Look at the second thing. Let's go to verse 43 about this redeemed body. This redeemed body in verse 43 teaches that it will be a body of glory compared to our bodies today that is raised with dishonor. Let me say it this way. In verse 43, this is number 2, the redeemed body is a body of glory compared to our bodies today, who is and what is and is a body of dishonor. Dishonor compared to one of glory. But today is the day of the glorification of the body. Am I not right? I've always said if you want to make money, invent some exercise machine, get you some technique that you can lose weight, put it on the internet, do something, come up with something in reference to exercise and diet, and you could probably make all the money in the world. It is amazing the glorification of the body is today. The advertisements. I wrote down 3 of them. Listen to this one. This is an exercise machine supposedly that will beautify the body. Here's what they said, and I quote, "The more we work our bodies, the more beautiful it becomes." This is a quote from an exercise machine that was being marketed. Here's another one, an advertisement. Do you remember the Belly Buster? Did you buy one? The advertisement for the Belly Buster, and I quote, rock your way to a slimmer you. Here's another one, and this is the best one of the bunch. This is a pill that you can take. You can burn fat while you're soaking in the tub. You can burn fat while you're eating. You can burn fat while you're sleeping. The bottle of pills is $19.95. And if you send it in, they'll send you a free bottle within a certain few minutes. You can get a free bottle, but $19.95, one of those 1-800 numbers. When I first saw that one, I'm thinking, how can anybody believe stuff like that? And I go down to Geneva to eat supper with my mama, and I looked on top of her refrigerator, and there sat a bottle of those pills. Mom, what are you doing? There's a glorification of the body today, folks, but look at verse 43. I want you to see this. This teaches that our bodies is a body of dishonor. What is the reason for this? The reason is this: our bodies are not what they were first created to be. You see, we get fat in these bodies. We lose hair in these bodies. We lose teeth. Our hair turns white, corns on toes, wrinkles, and so forth and so forth. These are dishonored bodies that we have today. They're not what they originally were created to be. Now you may be saying, what were we originally created to be? Well, according to humanism, we have evolved from the ape. Well, it's been updated. They say now that we come from a big blast. They call it the Big Bang Theory. In layman terms, this means that somebody just set off a big firecracker in the universe and man just sort of jumped out. Sounds wonderful, doesn't it? These same folks say that we are far superior than all those little people. These same folks say that we're far superior today than Adam and Eve, if you believe in that, they say. But let me tell you something. According to the Bible, we are not far superior to Adam and Eve. No way. No how. Let me explain it this way. You ever noticed in the Bible when man got a vision from God, it was associated with light, always associated with some kind of bright light? Have you ever noticed it in your Bible? For an example, when Moses was on top of the mountain and he had that experience with God and he came down, his hair was white, he was glowing with a glow, and the people couldn't even look at him. And then you have the story of the transfiguration. When Jesus was transfigured in that moment, his glory, his brightness came forth. And remember the Apostle Paul when he was Saul, before he was converted, on the road of Damascus, when he met Jesus, the light was so blinding that it blinded him. You see, if you look in the Bible, every time man had a vision from God, had a revelation from God, it was always associated with some dazzling, bright light. Bible scholars say that the body in the original state and also in the redeemed state will be dazzling with a brightness and with a glory that's untold. In fact, they say that this is exactly what happened in Adam and Eve's case. They were created, they were pure, they were everything that God wanted them to be, and they were dazzling with light and beauty and holiness. But when sin came, it left. That's why they knew that they were naked. I want you to get that. They did not know that they were naked. Because of that dazzling beauty, holiness, they didn't know, they didn't have a clue. But when sin came, it left. And they knew they were naked. Folks, I'm telling you, the Bible teaches that our body in glory, in heaven, will be dazzling with light and beauty and holiness. Something that we cannot conceive right now in this lifetime. That's the body compared to who we are right now. We are dishonored today. Today. I want to close with the third one. In verse 43. Did you see verse 43? It says, sown in weakness, it is raised in power. This redeemed body is raised in power compared to the body of today that is sown in weakness. So get that. Would you please get that? Number 3, verse 43. The redeemed body will be raised with power versus compared to the body that is sown in weakness today, like us. What is this talking about? It's talking about perfection. In other words, the redeemed body will be a body of perfection. Someone has said, how old will we be in heaven? I don't know, but we will be the perfect age. Someone else has said, will we look like we do here in heaven? Yes, basically, yes, but, watch it, but with no deformities. No deformities. In other words, if you have a crooked nose, God's going to straighten it out for you. If you're fat, God's going to slim you up. If you need some hair, you're going to have the most beautiful head full of hair you've ever had in your life. You're going to have teeth. All of them. You're going to be able to see 20/20 plus. You're going to be able to walk and squat and get up. Lie down, get up, move. There's some of you that are here today, you beat yourself up. Because you don't look as perfect as you want to be. But one day you will. I want to tell you this story before I close. To illustrate this truth. I pastored a church when I was in seminary in New Orleans. And I pastored a church above New Orleans in a place called Kentwood, Louisiana. It was the home church of Britney Spears. She was a little bitty girl at that time. And I can honestly say that her church today, a lot of folks there are very disappointed in the way she's living. But that was a long time ago when she was young and innocent and pure. A good church, a wonderful church. I had been gone from that church probably about 15 years, 12, 15 years. I was invited back to preach. And the music man, Brother Johnny, was still there. And Brother Johnny was a wonderful guy. He was a lot like Ronnie. Just a terrific guy. Brother Johnny, he and his wife had been married for a long time, and they had 2 boys, Michael and David. And Michael was the oldest, And he was in a wheelchair. He lived in a wheelchair. He couldn't do anything. He was just all curled up. He couldn't even look at you. He was so sad. But Michael would be rolled right on the front every Sunday. And he'd sit there all curled up and he'd listen to me preach. And it just broke my heart. David, the younger brother, joined the army and went off to Germany. And during that time, Michael died. And they were trying to get David back home for the funeral. And he didn't make it. He was 2 days late. And it just killed him that he couldn't be at the funeral for his brother. When he got in that night, they were sitting around the supper table, and Brother Johnny said, David, listen, you couldn't help this. Don't worry about it. You can't help it. It's okay. And they all went to bed. The next morning, Johnny had gotten up, made some coffee. And David came to the table, and Johnny knew he was very disturbed. Seemed to be. He said, David, what's wrong? He said, Dad, I had a dream last night. He said, I don't know if it was a dream or... He said, it seemed so real. He said, well, what? Tell me. He said, Dad, I was in my bedroom asleep, and I heard my name, and I raised up, and it sounded like Michael. He said, I got up, and I went to the front door, and I opened the door, and there stood Michael in the front yard. And he said to me, he said, David, don't beat yourself up. It's okay. I'm okay. He said, I'm okay. I'm better than I've ever been. And he said, that was it. Well, Johnny, he said, well, David, it's obvious you've had a lot on your mind, and you've been burdened about this, and maybe the Lord has just given you this to help you, to encourage you. So, Brother Johnny was about to end the conversation, but he stopped. He said, David, let me ask you something. When you looked out in the front yard and saw Michael, what did you see? He said, Dad. He said, Dad, Michael was standing straight. And he was strong. He looked so perfect. Perfect. My Father, thank you for your presence. I pray that this message will be an encouragement to someone here today. Speak to our hearts and bless this invitation. We pray in Jesus' name.